You are listening to a Pod Bros exclusive.
All right, boys and girls, we're live. Brand new episode at Take Aim Outdoor Podcast, and excited to have everyone back. Another show out, and excited to have this guy on, Tim Clark from Reddog Outfitters. How you doing today, Tim?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I know we were just talking, and I'm just excited. It's Friday, and here in the Midwest, our season doesn't start till October 1st, so it's just another day closer is what I'm getting at, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, exactly. We've been going here since September 1st in Nebraska, and we opened up on Monday here in Kansas. So it's slow going this early, but we've already got two good mule deer down and had some great chances with Blake Garrett from Full Draw Adventures here a couple days ago. They're still in camp right now trying. So
that is awesome. So what I'd like to do, Tim, is just kind of get to know you, know exactly where you're from, and kind of what got you into hunting and what led you to start Reddog Outfitters.
Sure. Well, I'm actually from Colorado originally, a suburb of Denver, and kind of had to escape the lunacy that place has turned into and moved out here to western Kansas a few years ago. I've been in the outdoor industry actually twice, in total about 11 years of experience, but I had an old duck hunting club back, right out of high school that I ran for about 4 or 5 years, and, I made some mistakes that, young guys make and older guys make, just some things that happen in business, and stopped doing that and sold it to another person back in 2002, I think. But back in 2010, it was August, I had bought a red Labrador, and I brought her home, and my wife wasn't as surprised as I thought she would be, or not the right kind of surprise, I'll say. It literally almost caused a divorce. Kind of me or the dog type of deal, and finally I talked her into letting me keep the dog, and we went to a hunt test with her, an AKC hunt test, just to see what she could do. And one of the guys that was there recognized me from the old duck hunting club and said, "Hey, are you still doing waterfowl hunts?" And it kind of still had that dream lingering, and decided, what if I got licensed again? Would you go with me? And the guy said, "Yeah, absolutely." So in Colorado, you have to have a license through the Department of Regulatory Agencies. You need a bond. You need there's a lot of red tape, insurances and things like that. So I got on the phone with one of my at the time acquaintances, which is now a friend, and asked him if he wanted to make some extra money off his property if I'd guide, and I'd give him X amount of dollars. And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So literally that day, the whole thing was spawned. I went home, looked up a couple domain names, and decided on Reddog Outfitters because of my red Labrador. Bought reddogoutfitters.com, and then went and maxed out all my credit cards on waterfowl gear, and actually started it out as a duck hunting and dog breeding company, and it's evolved into this deer and turkey deal. So I've just kind of run with that. But we just turned 6, and now we're heading into our 7th season. And, if we have our worst season replicated, we'll have a pretty dang good season. We've been pretty blessed with the property we have, and we've had some great hunters, and had a really good run so far.
That is a super cool kind of story, and I'm assuming, the dog and you and the divorce, everything's cool now, right?
Oh yeah, everything's way cool. It was just one of those things. I thought it was she'd be as excited as I was, and I surprised her with the dog. And don't do that. I guess I learned a lesson.
Don't do it.
With, at least with my wife. But we survived Piper dog and have 2 kids, and everything's way cool. It just a little bit of a bump in the road is all. But
no, yeah,
it's funny how
I'm just
things
teasing, but that is funny, and it's totally the typical married couple that and stuff like that happens. It's such a funny story to tell after the fact, anyways. So,
yeah, exactly.
So just to recap a little bit, Tim, where all do you guys have, properties at? And
well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, even if it's, you can break it down as much as you want, eastern Kansas, western, east Nebraska, western. So, just
sure.
if you would get into detail a little.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. We have properties still in Lamar, Colorado, but I think we're going to just start moving out of the Colorado game and just start focusing on Nebraska and Kansas only. That said, my Kansas properties are over 5 different counties in the northwest corner of the state, in Game Unit 1 and Game Unit 3. We try to spread out for a lot of reasons, and some of those are, things I don't want to share because they're kind of trade secrets of mine anyway. But we are spread out, and for other reasons is, if there's a breakout of EHD or something like that, which is just an absolute nightmare for some people that are dealing with it right now in other states. We just hope that we can weather a storm, and if it takes out 5 counties, then it's an act of God and something we can do about it. So we're in those 5 counties in northwest Kansas, and we're also in just one county in south central Nebraska. It's only about 2 hours from my house is the furthest property. But we've got about 4 miles of the Platte River right off of I-80 up in Nebraska, and then we've got a 4,500-acre ranch in Curtis, Nebraska that does actually whitetail looks about as good as the mule deer does, but I leased it for the mule deer property, and then kind of wait and see, and that property's turned into a great mule deer ranch. We've taken 2 nice ones already off the place, and the whitetail it turned in there, I mean, absolutely in higher numbers than I ever anticipated. So, but right now that's kind of where we're going to focus on staying and growing from here to there and in between. And like I say, the Colorado thing is where we founded. I hate letting it go, but it's hard for me to go to Pennsylvania and to go to, Massachusetts and sell these hunts and have someone go to Colorado when I have Kansas and Nebraska. There just really isn't a comparison as far as the ground that I have. Colorado has some amazing hunting, but I don't have amazing hunting in Colorado, if that makes sense. It's good, but it's just much better here, and it's closer. So
right. What were you guys actually hunting out of Colorado? Was it mostly mule deer or elk?
No, actually, everybody thinks that because it's Colorado. It's funny, just because there's only a few places out there that you can get into whitetail, but the east side of the state has a lot of opportunities actually, and it gets overlooked a lot. You get out into the southeast corner of the state, it's over that 3-hour drive from Denver, and nobody wants to drive 3 hours and 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So it's kind of an untouched area down there in some regard, because people want to drive to the northwest corner, which you can get into whitetail within 2 hours of Denver. So whitetail was kind of actually the first hunt that I ever sold was a whitetail hunt, and I was trying to do a duck hunting thing. It was just all systems pointed, or all the signs pointed towards the whitetail game for us. But we were doing duck hunting originally on the river out there on the Arkansas, and there happened to be deer on the property, and that's kind of how we got turned on to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I mean, myself, I'm a whitetail kind of aficionado, and I've always known that part of Colorado has great deer, and it was kind of neat to hear you talk about it in that manner, because it is kind of overlooked, even though there's some guys that know, and there's some big deer that absolutely come out of there. But I'm all about Kansas and Nebraska, 2 of my favorite states, so excited to hear a little more about those areas as well.
Sure. Well, the properties that we have out here, and I think what our benefit is, and I don't know if I could do this anywhere else in the country. I don't know how good of a deer guide I am outside of where I'm at. I mean, I'm in my element here, but the benefit we have is that we've got it's almost as just a standing and removable forest that we have every year, and just the cornfields and the milo, and these deer just all live out there in the corn and milo until they cut it. Once they cut it, there's limited habitat left, and the habitat that is left are the small creek bottoms and draws that we have. And there's a fair amount of them, but as spread out as the deer are in the spring and summer, the concentration levels go up through the roof. And one of the nice things is once they do the actual corn and milo harvest, we get an influx of deer, obviously, at that point, but then you have the pheasant opener. So all of your deer that are living in the wild grasses and CRP ditches and draws get bumped out. And then all of a sudden now pretty much every deer is down living in the hardwoods, and the rut's in full peak. And it's just an amazing time to be out here. Habitat is, it's pretty hard to come by. It's, we've accumulated a lot of leases over the years, but you can drive out here for 30 miles straight and not see a tree unless it was planted. I mean, it's a breadbasket of America. Everybody says I hate driving through Kansas because everybody who drives through Kansas probably takes I-70, and there really isn't much to see until you get to the far east side of the state, as far as woods. But if you get off the highway 30, 40 miles, one way or another, you start finding these little draws and valleys. It's beautiful. I mean, it isn't what people normally think of Kansas when they think of it. The deer size out here, the potential for giants is here. Obviously, you guys see them on TV all the time. Guys are pulling deer out that are, just absurd, huge animals. And we've taken some of them on our own, but, we try to keep things realistic with our customers and sell a reality to them. And some guys don't like that. And I turn a lot of people away and saying, hey, if you really want to kill a 170, you really don't want to hire me. And I've gotten people on deer in the 170s, even a 200-inch typical, and I have them. But realistically, only a handful of your guys are going to even see a buck like that. And the bigger problem is that most hunters, when they look at themselves in the mirror and say, deep down, 140-inch 8-point walks by or runs in, and you grunt and stop them 18 yards, can you really pass that deer? And the answer to most of us is no. I know I can't. There's just no chance. And you got to pass a lot of deer like that to kill a 200-inch deer, and then you got to be really lucky to even rub elbows with them. While they're here, reality is, 140 is a hell of an animal, and I think TV's kind of ruined that to some extent, because you see a lot of guys saying, that they got a 140, and you look at the deer and it doesn't touch 110. So people are starting to believe that 110 is a 140, and it's so deceiving, and it makes our job a little harder. But when guys get here, we show them the pictures of the deer that live on the farms. We run almost 60, 65 cameras, so they'll have an idea of, what kind of animals are living on the farm when they get here, which deer they could pass 20 times and which deer they better not pass, aside from score. But it is a great place to live, and an even better place to hunt. I think people dream about coming to Kansas, and it really isn't that hard to get here. Just get the tag, and the hunts that we put on are starting at 2,000. I mean, I think that's pretty fair. I don't know if I'm not trying to promote my sales or anything like that. I'm just saying, it's not a far reach. You hear some places like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, guys are getting $5,500, man. And I mean, who can afford? I know people can afford it, but you know what I mean. It doesn't sound realistic to most of us. I can't pay $50 to go hunt anything.
No, you're right, man. And it is out of reach for a lot of us, and it's really out of reach when you think about. I know I'm from Michigan, and I know how many people, they don't get what I do, going out of state or buying out of state tag. They just, somebody said it to me this week, like, oh, I almost hit one with my car the other day.
Right.
It's totally the normal guy does not get it, and $5,500 is absolutely sticker shock. And to hear you say $2,000 is absolutely more than a fair price. And I mean, I know from the deer that you guys have been putting out that for that kind of money, I mean, you'd be foolish to look anywhere else, to be honest.
Well, I appreciate that, man. We've tried to build a business model that I had the ability to come in and charge that amount because I had a full-time job and I didn't need to, make a living solely off of Reddog for the first couple of years, so we could afford to come in. Hell, I've still got guys that are paying, much less than that, and we've always honored the people who got us where we've gotten, and we don't raise or hike rates on anybody. Once you're in at a rate, that's your rate. If every few years I'm gonna have to adjust it a little bit. People understand that things cost more, especially taxes and their wonderful new Obamacare that we have. I'm sure that everybody listening can relate. Things cost more and they go up, but we wanted to start a company where we could have anybody out here, and I think anybody who makes decent money, even if they're, I'm not gonna throw any numbers out there because I don't want to generalize or paint with a broad brush, but I think most guys can afford $2,000 at least every couple of years. And we've wanted to open the door to people that, my brother drives trucks. I've got a CDL. That's probably what I do. If I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't get back into my old profession. That's for sure. And I want to be able to help guys drive trucks. I want to be able to help guys that, are in sales or car sales or whatever, and make a venue where everybody can come, even the super rich. I've got some guys that have tons of money out there. I'm sure. Not that I'm counting their money, but you can kind of tell when they roll in if, that they're making some change. But and we also offer hunts that cater to those guys too that want to go with food and lodging and the whole nine and chase the bigger deer, more exclusive animals. But the most of my hunters are the $2,000 hunters, and that's really been our bread and butter, and that's what's kept me going and keeping those guys. And a lot of them are super loyal, man. I've got a group of guys coming back from Pennsylvania this year. There's 3 of them coming, and they already booked again for next year. I know they're 4-year clients. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we like to have. And the young guys that come out here, they have a good time, and they always have chances. And I guess that's what it's all about. People come out, have a good time, and they get their opportunity, and it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And that, again, I mean, man, that's so crazy because I know, I've had leases that cost several $1,000s, and it's a small chunk of land, and I'm splitting it with a buddy just to make ends meet.
Right.
So I can really, really appreciate that price structure that you're giving guys. So let's talk about a setup for a hunter, if we could. Are you, we have, I'm assuming, area photos and plot maps. Like, how do you go through all that when a guy gets into camp and, where are you going to...
They're kind of all a little different, how they all set up, but the way that it's generally done, at least the way we try to do it, is have guys get into camp around, 9 or 10 in the morning, right about when my other hunters are coming out of their stands. And these guys aren't going to be hunting the same stand somebody hunted yesterday, unless there's a big buck there and we know it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of property. We have close to 250 stands now. I don't even really know how many stands we have anymore, man. It's grown so much, but we've got a lot of places to hunt. And what I'll do is when you come to camp, let's say you bought a hunt from me, we'll go out, we'll tour the property. I'll physically show you where the property's at, and where the stand is. And I'll actually walk you in to where you can see the ladder. Once you have visual contact and you know where the ladder is, then I back out because there's just one more guy. And I'm 6'5" and I make a lot of noise. You don't want me going in there with you. Trust me. So once you see the stand, I send you in. You hunt that afternoon and get affiliated with the with the surroundings. Once you hunt a place for 5 or 6 hours, you kind of know your way around. So that's a semi-guided hunt. That's a $2,000 one. So you get it in there, you hunt it. Then the next morning when you go back, if you get turned around, you hit a red light and you'll see those little glow tabs I'm talking about with the little stickers or reflector on it. We've got
absolutely.
those, the little clip-on deals that you've got that hang on a tree that have their markers on them. So it's kind of like, hey, if you can't find that stand, you'll find the markers. And if you don't find those markers, you'll find a different stand. There's not going to be anybody else around you're going to step on. But generally speaking, with the way that the creek bottoms are out here, it's pretty easy to find the property or find the stands, excuse me. As far as maps go, these places are pretty simple. I tell guys, once you step on the place, just don't cross a road. And don't cross anything a cow can't cross, and you're going to be on us. If they ever have a problem, I'm always a phone call away. So they'll get out and hunt, and that first afternoon hunt's usually the most exciting, because you're here, and the deer aren't used to anybody being in there, so you usually see more deer. It's just like anywhere. You usually see most deer in your first set. Not a lot of guys shoot deer their first day, obviously, but it's just a fun time overall. But seeing deer, it can be anywhere from, 5, 6 deer within bow range up to, this is going to sound absurd, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell you the truth. The best day I have ever seen out here was 45 deer in bow range. And that was actually in Nebraska. 45 in the morning. it was incredible. But that's not the norm. Your average day you're going to see probably, 10 or 12 animals, and a handful in bow range. But, what kind of animals are they? Does and fawns and forkhorns, sure. a lot more of those out here than there are big bucks, But if you put in your time,
for sure,
you'll get into them.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. That's an amazing day, though. Nonetheless, anybody would be privileged to, have a morning like that. That's a day I know you can relate. You're going to remember forever.
Yeah,
that just
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the stuff you dream about, man.
Oh, for sure. But if we could, Tim, let's talk about your guys' ground in Nebraska for a minute, if we could.
Sure.
I am, how everybody has their, kind of special place that they don't live in, and that Nebraska is that to me. I hope one day to live there, retire there, hunt there the rest of my life. I'm absolutely in love with Nebraska, and so I'm obsessed, more or less, but super excited. I was in an area right kind of by you last year, so tell me a little bit about your spot there off the North Platte.
The Platte River, we're actually on the Platte itself. So from North Platte, Nebraska.
Sorry.
It's okay. I mean, it's right there. Basically, the North Platte and the South Platte come together in North Platte, Nebraska, and then that just becomes the Platte River. So, and the only reason I'm differentiating is because a lot of my hunters come from Colorado. They hear the South Platte and North Platte, and they're thinking Wyoming or Colorado, where when it's the Platte, it's only Nebraska. So we've got the 4 miles right there, and the entire I-80 corridor runs, as you know, was built on the Platte River. So that's kind of a drag in a way because a lot of the deer, we have a lot of roadkill, obviously. I mean, Interstate 80s, people are driving 85 miles an hour down that, and the deer start chasing, and it's hard to grow monster deer. We have great deer, and we've got great deer numbers, but having the interstate there is probably the only bad thing about it. Otherwise, though, man, I mean, the wildlife's, it's crazy how many deer are out there, and that deer I spoke of with the 45 that day with 45 deer was on that property, and I hunted earlier this year with some people and actually have a film of it to prove it. Thank God, because this will also sound like one of those things. It's BS, but it's not. We had one afternoon we were hunting turkey, and I'm not kidding. If it wasn't 200, it was 202 deer in an afternoon. Just I'm not talking in bow range. We were sitting on the river, you could see a mile, but they were just crawling everywhere. And I asked her not to put that particular film on TV because we don't want people coming out thinking they're going to see 200 deer, even if they are a mile and a half or away ever, because it just I don't know what it was they were migrating through or something, but those kind of animals are there, and they allow you to shoot up to $2 a year. The doe tags just in my unit last year they had, I know my number is not going to be 100% accurate, but it was hundreds of doe tags left, and each doe tag has 2 doe tags on it, and that was left over just in my unit. Rifle tags, they're not over the counter, but there was hundreds of rifle tags for bucks left over just for my game unit, and that just kind of tells you how many deer live in the area, and the habitat out there, it's just incredible. They let you hunt deer during the rut with a rifle in Nebraska. And there's a lot of things you can do, as and there's a reason that you love it, and it's because of that kind of target-rich environment. Then you get into turkey, and you got just as many of those out there. It seems like some days as there are deer, But I almost think they have too many deer, but I'm not going to ever say that about anywhere. But if there's a place
Me
with too
neither.
many deer, yeah, exactly. The farmers, they don't think that way, obviously, but and I understand why, obviously, but the property up there in the Platte's a special place, man. And the only thing that disappoints me about the property is I really hoped it'd have some good duck hunting, and for some reason, it just doesn't pull the ducks in. You go 20 miles up the highway either way, and you're in Duck City, but where I'm at, it's just deer.
Yeah, that is amazing. You think they would be there, but
yeah,
I waterfowl, but it's like the smallest side hobby, so I don't even remotely know enough to comment on it, but you would just think they would be there because I know what that whole strip looks like through there, and it's gorgeous, and why would they not be there, really?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know, it's one of those things. I was really hoping to take my boy out there. He's only going to be 4 here next month, and he already loves hunting. I'm taking him out for elk hunt, whitetail, turkey, everything already. I mean, even at 1 year old, I'm probably not the greatest thing a dad can do, or maybe it is. I don't know, but I really wanted to get him on the ducks out there, but we'll have to find somewhere different to go. But as far as the river property out there, that we've got the 4 full miles on the north side of the river. We've got 3, and then on the south side we've got 1 mile together, and then we got another 1.5 miles of kind of an offshoot kind of creek bottom that's actually produces some pretty nice deer as well. And then from there, we've got that big ranch down in Curtis, which is it's only about a half an hour away, and it looks like a different state. I mean, it is not even close to the same type of terrain. That's where we've got actual elk trophy elk living on that property, mule deer and whitetail, and tons of turkeys on that. But that's more of like your rolling hills and cedars and that kind of thing.
Now, which way is that? That's north of where you guys are, or south? I'm sorry.
South.
South.
It's south.
Yep. I'll be danged. And there's elk over there, huh? That's nuts.
It is. It's funny. We actually have a picture of a bull walking down the Platte River last year. And I got a bull living here in Kansas as well. Just places you wouldn't think they'd be, but this one, it does look like it could hold elk. Kind of reminds me of Castle Rock, Colorado. Kind of just a lot of pines, rolling hills, and mule deer country really, but places that elk could be. But we've got some trail cam pictures on my Instagram that are freaking just big. I mean, big for anywhere. It's just getting the tag. Getting the tag's the hard part.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, and there's not many elk tags in Nebraska yet, but hopefully one day that'd be great.
Yeah. If you get one, call me. I know we can get you on a monster, but yeah, it's just finding somebody with the tag is the hard part.
Yeah. So when you guys, how do you manage them when you got north, west Kansas and Nebraska? How do you figure out where you're going to be, what week, and how you're getting clients there?
It's some form of controlled chaos. We have the good scheduling, and my wife helps out with getting the scheduling done, and getting guys coming in when they're going to show up. Without her, without everybody that's involved in this machine wouldn't work, but we try to get guys to come in at certain times. A lot of my hunters are semi-guided, as I mentioned. So, the semi-guided hunters aren't, in camp per se. They don't have the food and lodging. They do their own thing. We've got houses they can rent, or they can do hotels. Or some guys just bring campers out and they just park on the property and hunt. So once they're set up in their own property, then basically from that point we just talk on the phone, or I'll stop by and see how they're doing. But being blessed with having this repeat customers, a lot of my guys already know where they're going. They come back. They've been hunting the same place for 2 or 3 years, so they come in, I meet and greet, show them the pictures of the deer. Wish them luck and wait for a phone call. And usually those next phone calls are, they're either one or two things. I need to move, or I got a deer, so that makes it a lot easier. We only do a handful of guided hunts because there's only so many deer, I think, that are special enough to charge that amount of money for. And there's only so many people that work here. Just Trey and I are the only ones that guide for Red Dog. So we only take on 4 at a time, 2 each, on the guided trips. So we try to keep that as exclusive as possible. Where a lot of outfitters charge everybody for guided trips, there's just not that many special deer out there. I don't care where you are. I mean, in my opinion, that's just my opinion. A lot of guys will argue it and say, yeah, you could guide, or you should guide more, or do less, semi-guided, or whatever it may be. But what we do works for us, and it works for our customers, and it works for our landowners. And that's what I'm going to stick with. I just won't charge somebody my fully guided hunts are $38.50, and I'm probably gonna have to raise that just because of demand. But I can't charge somebody $38.50 for a 130-inch deer. I mean, it just doesn't jive with me. I see guys do it, and they promote those 5. I call them 5% bucks. The 5% of my hunters are going to kill the freak show giant bucks, right? Over the course of 6 or 7 seasons, you're going to have quite a few pictures of those big bucks, and I see guys promote that. And then guys come into camp hoping for a giant, and they kill the 95% bucks, and then they're let down, and it's a tragedy, man. I don't mean to change subjects on you again like that, but I see it happen time and time again, and it really puts a bad taste in people's mouths when they look at outfitting, in general.
Oh, absolutely. I know that game, that part of it very well, and that is a mentality of just, I think from the Midwest to Nebraska, for guys that are paying for something, that all of a sudden after the first day everybody's getting nervous, and then the first 130 that walks by, that's what happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, that people see these things like, or they hear me say something like 45 deer in one sit, and they don't remember the other part where I say that doesn't happen. It happened, but it's not a normal occurrence. And if they don't see a train of deer coming by, you're right, they get nervous, and they'll just get excited and pop a 110. I've had guys come out here and shoot, a super small deer. Not that 110 is super small, but I've had, deer much smaller than 110 harvested, and guys get excited, man. I mean, I'm as trigger happy as they get, and I wouldn't shoot one like that anymore, but I have. And I think that people that come in from Pennsylvania, and I have a lot of collect customers from Pennsylvania, and states like in the South, Louisiana hunters, they don't see any deer that are bigger than branch antlered animals, and they see a 8-point, man, and it's going down. They come in hoping and praying for a 160, 170, and the first 120 walks by, and it's a shot animal. And that's the name of the game, man. If you can't pass those, you're never going to kill a giant. And as long as people are happy, that's all I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. If those guys are happy, and I know a similar scenario, just being from Michigan, that kind of like PA guys. Unless you're really hardcore and put the time in like I do, there's guys that have never seen, the bucks I've seen in Michigan. But I hunt more, and I do things year round. The weekend guys, or just the guys that are really into it and kind of love it, they come out there, they've never probably seen a 110-inch deer in Michigan or PA, and they go out there. That's a big deer to them, man. That's something that's exciting. So
yeah,
I think it's cool just to hear if they're happy, and you have clients that come out and get to camp and call you, and repeat customers like that. It just sounds like a very fun experience.
Yeah, it is. It's a great thing to have, and the people left looking forward to their hunts out here. And one thing we do for them too is, I work year round doing this. I mean, people think I work in the fall and then I have all summer off. That's absolutely absolutely wrong. I mean, I work at least 40 hours a week, probably 50, 60 hours a week. But is it real work checking trail cameras? Not really. It is work, but it's fun, and it's rewarding. And I post those pictures on my Instagram and not so much Facebook anymore, because Facebook's kind of choked us out. I don't know why, but don't get me started on Facebook. But on Instagram, people can follow my page and they can see the deer grow. They can watch the fawns, when the fawns hit the ground, when they start dropping horns, to growing horns and taking their velvet off. I mean, the whole thing is documented, probably too well. Because I overpost on there. But I mean, my customers are in touch. They don't just call and say, hey, how's it? I'll be there in 2 weeks. What's going on? You seen any big deer? And I went with an outfitter once, and that's kind of the experience I had. They kind of were like, yeah, there's some nice ones. We'll see you at 8:30 on Thursday. Like, I don't know, man. If I'm booking a hunt and a vacation, I want it to be fun, not just feel like a number and you're on a schedule and that's it. It's like,
right.
I don't know.
No, I agree 100% with that. It's nice that, on your end, you're doing something that is, regardless, it's 100% customer base, customer service. So when somebody calls you and on the other side, and Tim answers, and he's like, hey, Brandon, what's up, man? How's your kid? What's that? That's, there's a lot more to hunting than us getting in a tree stand and trying to kill an animal. So I think that is one thing I love about doing in podcasts is we get to, kind of elaborate on some of those friendships and things like that are important to us besides just hunting.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes down to it, I think there's the kill's usually one of the things that, of course, you remember, and that's what you put on your wall if you like the animal enough. But there's so many more things that happen in camps that you remember, that you miss, about the entire process than just sitting in a tree stand. You're right. We have a lot of fun at night. We've got satellite TV in all of our cabins out here, which I know doesn't sound like a huge, selling point, but it's, people sit down, they watch their football game or watch whatever, World Series or whatever it is, they can hang out with their buddies and relax, kick back, tell jokes, like whatever they want to do, man. As long as it's legal, I'm okay with it, And some of those places that we have hunters to use they're right down the road, or even a short walk from some of the tree stands. One of the best bucks we killed last year was shot 300 yards away from the lodge. I mean, we're not even driving to the stand. I mean, you're walking from the front door. So
I know that I wanted to ask you about that, Tim. We're getting just about time. We're coming short on time, I should say. But if we could, I know you guys, you did shoot, one of your guys shot an absolute beast last year of a deer. But if you could, real quick, give us a rundown on that hunt and what happened. And I mean, it was just such a unbelievable deer. I loved it.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I think I do. That's actually a buck I named.
The Nebraska whitetail. I believe it could be one of the guys from Bowhunter Magazine or Bowhunter TV.
Oh, that was a couple years ago. That was a 200.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're right. It was probably 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. It was actually, I think it was 2013 actually, but they're always putting new media out on that deer. In fact, right now he's in a calendar, so it's easy to think it would happen last year. But that deer, it was the end of a 5-day hunt, and it was a hard hunt. And I had 3 guys in camp, and the hunting on that trip, the deer just weren't doing anything, and the kids were getting out of the stands a little early, in my opinion. It didn't make it any easier, I'll put it that way. But the last day, 2 hours into the last day, he had this buck come by 8 yards away from his stand, 8 yards. And I pulled the arrow out of the ground. I mean, I was at the lodge cooking chili when he called me, and he told me he shot the 200-inch deer. And that was the last deer I thought he'd shoot that day. We were trying to kill the buck, the one that actually I was referencing a little earlier in this segment, from last season. We were trying to kill him 3 years ago. We did the one we just got. And that day we were targeting him, and I put these guys in their stands, and they were kind of stacked up a little tight. And I told them, I think one of you guys can kill Ron tonight, and I won't tell you his last name because it may not be appropriate for airwaves. But this deer we named Ron, I said, one of you guys will probably kill him. You're probably not going to both kill a deer if we do it this way. I mean, you can spread out if you want, but I think you should stack up. And then you've also got the lottery buck. He's there. You never know. It might come together, and sure as hell, man. I mean, he wasn't sitting there for an hour and a half, and he told me he was lowering his bow to the ground. I mean, literally putting his bow on the ground because he was too cold, is in his own words. So they just can't handle the cold, these guys from Louisiana. And I'm talking 2 hours early, and he started got his bow to the ground, looked up, and here he comes, and reeled his bow back up in the tree, got able to knock an arrow, and the thing came by 8 yards and smoked him. He only ran 60, 70 yards and croaked. It was a pretty cool experience to see that deer, in person. It didn't even look real,
No, it doesn't. I know, it's pretty much the deer on the front page of your website, and it just, I guess that's a sure sign that I'm getting old. It just seems like it was yesterday because, again, I'm a fan of Nebraska, so any of those deer that come out of there, I'm always like, whoa, But,
right.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable deer, and just, the other day I saw a picture somewhere of the same deer on somebody's website Twitter, Instagram, whatever. But,
right.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's still out there, still circulating around, but it just goes to show you the magnitude of, an awesome deer when somebody gets to kill one like that.
Absolutely, and we still promote them. A lot of guys, I've had some criticism saying, hey, that was 2013. Why are you still promoting it? Well, hey, that deer 3 years ago was breeding, okay, and 4 years ago he's breeding. Guess who's walking around? All of his kids are walking around, and they're all getting to mature status right now, and that's why we're still promoting that deer, because we've got some excellent genetics in the area, and they're just now coming of age. And I have to think the deer of that size was breeding at least the year before, if not 2 years prior. And the other deer on that we shot last year, I think is offspring from that animal, and he was 170, 167 or something with breaks. So he was no slouch either, but he came pretty close to where the other one was shot. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we get this year. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, and absolutely, and obviously that deer has passed on its genetics, the 170-inch deer. So I think
exactly.
It's that's exactly why you should have that. That's a deer of a lifetime, and who cares less what everybody says? Keep that picture on there, Tim, for the rest of your life. I mean, that deer's that awesome.
Yeah.
So, but
thank you.
I know that we talked earlier, Tim. We're going to do, kind of have you on a weekly basis in the future, and kind of go over your hunters and what you guys are seeing from Kansas, Nebraska, who's killed what, and just maybe some stats on, what the weather did and some insight to make us all better hunters. But give us, Tim, where you can be reached in Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, and website, please.
Yeah, I'm Instagram.com/Reddog Outfitters, or just search me under Reddog Outfitters on Instagram. My Facebook's still up. I do post on there, but the way that they've remodeled that, I think I might have made somebody mad in the PETA department over there. So we don't get seen as much. You really have to check in on my Facebook page. You don't get it on your news as much. So Instagram's really the best way if you want to see stuff. But Facebook.com/Reddog Outfitters. My website is reddogoutfitters.com. All the words are spelled in full and correctly. Or you can call me. Text, anything's fine. My phone number, 720-232-0173. And my email is reddogoutfitters@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Tim, thanks so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to the future and hanging out and, getting you on the show again.
Thank you. It's an honor to be a part of this, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. And boys and girls, we're live every Tuesday, outdoorpodcastchannel.com, podbros.com, iTunes. Make sure to leave us a review on iTunes. It's a huge help to get the show out to others. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week down the trail.